So I'm Dr. Teresa Bergholz. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition at Michigan State University.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Benard Odhiambo Oloo. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Dairy and Food Science and Technology at Egerton University.
Ben and I met through a mutual colleague, and so he was our mutual connector and helped us establish first a research project. So Ben and I were working on a metagenomics research project with samples that he collected in Kenya and sent to MSU for sequencing and analysis. And we ended up turning part of that research project into our COIL project.
When we saw the COIL adverts go up, we were excited to think about it as a way to enhance. There's an opportunity for us there to enhance this, what it started as an initial collaboration of just giving these workshops. And as a result, we thought about metagenomics and in what courses would it, make more sense. We need to talk about the techniques, for microbial determination or detection and diagnostics. And we can use traditional methods, of course, but then metagenomics is one of those most current technologies that we're using at the moment and which has a lot of potential as well. And this is why we embedded it in this particular program.
So our research project was looking at the microbiome of an indigenous Kenyan vegetable, managu, and we wanted to know changes in that microbiome as the plant was grown in different environments, was harvested, brought to the market, and then potentially prepared at the market. So it might be washed at the market or chopped and then washed. And so we wanted to look at changes in the microbiome on the plant as well as the soil it was grown in. Ben and one of his graduate students collected all of those samples for us, extracted the DNA, and then brought them to MSU for us to sequence. And so this leads to us having this really large data set, and it can be tricky to analyze these types of data sets. And so we thought that would be a great opportunity to teach graduate students how to handle and process and analyze this type of data in the context of the value chain for this particular Kenyan vegetable. So we had the students work in groups of 4 or 5, and it was half students from MSU and half students from Egerton. So they were working collaboratively.
When you look at the level of training, between the Michigan State University and Kenya, they found that there were places of a lot of synergy. For example, they were responsible solely with our support a little bit to analyze the data, and they're using metagenomic analysis tools. And in this case, we used an online platform that is known as Galaxy. Therefore, there was a lot of learning and unlearning, and using different technologies and different tools to be able to really go through the different process steps that they needed to do to analyze this data. So that intercollaboration is one of those feedbacks that we felt was very vital.
At the end, they managed to come up with some analyzed data sets, and each group had a different piece of the value chain. So some groups had samples that were taken at the farm, and some groups had samples that were taken at the market, right? And so they were able to share their findings, and then a class as a whole, we were able to try to put all those pieces together and understand how the microbes change throughout the entire value chain.
This kind of collaborative online learning platforms is very vital at this moment. It's going to require for the countries or the institutions to be more flexible and forward-thinking, forward-looking around the matters curriculum to ensure that the offering is still good. But through COIL, together, we were able to enhance the studies and the experience of those students because we were able to leverage on some online platforms. Therefore, Egerton, as my university, didn't have to have the capacity to store this huge amount of data. There are cloud storage spaces, and that allowed therefore my students to engage in analysis of some of the metagenomic data that would, in a typical setup of my own classes or classroom, take longer or not be possible, and they would have to do it elsewhere.
At MSU, we do have some additional capacity, right, to store data and work with data and things like that. But I feel like the real benefit for the MSU students was not necessarily having that type of access, but having access to the students from Egerton who were able to help provide that context to the data set that we were examining, right? We don't have the firsthand experience of going to the market or even consuming this type of vegetable, right? So really being able to have a deep appreciation, or at least being able to share that appreciation of this food system in that context allows us to be able to analyze the data better and make more sense of the data, right? So I feel like this experience was really important for us on both sides, right? We were able to, utilize these data sets, but providing that context is essential for really understanding what that data is telling us. Sharing our experiences, especially around food, right? I really like how we use the concept of food to tie things together because everybody has, a favorite food. Everybody is, spending time thinking about what are we going to eat today. And I feel like that's such a common thread for everyone that we use that to pull all those concepts together. So I really appreciated looking at food from all those different perspectives. And in that sense, also then learning about the students and their backgrounds as well.